A very big hand to Ingu Kuko White Stars for starting us off on such a perfect blessing, for giving us the gift of dance, the gift of music, the gift of art, the gift of inspiration. So please, another big hand to them. I know that they're still here. Thank you. Thank you very much. My name is Prince Bomba. I'm the Programs Director at TrustAfrica. I appear before you today as the chair of the program committee for the 5th African Philanthropy Conference. It's the 5th edition of this conference. Please, let's celebrate that. It deserves a big pam-pam, it deserves a big hand. My task this morning is very, very simple. I'm simply standing before you to introduce to you the person who's going to be our host for the next 3 days. She's a conversation strategist. She's the go-to person for great conversations. Her name is Nozipho Tshabalala, and her name means a woman of multiple talents. Ladies and gentlemen, we are in safe hands. Over to you, Nozipho.
Thank you so much to my brother Briggs. Let me make sure I have this one on as well. I watched him close his eyes as he was wanting to make sure that he gets Inguquko correct. You did a good job, Briggs. Ladies and gentlemen, when we find ourselves at home, we connect on another level. We say, Moro, Moriseng, Sanbonan, Dumelang, Molweni, Bom dia, Goeiemorgen, Bonjour, Habari. What have I missed? And in all of this, there's a couple of hands. Of course, this is Africa, so I'm sure I've missed a lot. But in all of this, ladies and gentlemen, it's a small way of saying, what an honor, what a privilege it is to serve you over the next 3 days as the moderator of this conference. And what a gift it is to do it at the feet of one of the 7 natural wonders of the world. And we're building on from the academic conference that concluded yesterday under the theme, The Next Frontiers of African Philanthropy, where we're going to be using this conversational space to ask some difficult questions of ourselves. What do we want the next frontier of African philanthropy to be? And what needs to be true for it to be truly a next frontier? And these conversations are going to take the form of plenary sessions. You're going to hear from amazing keynote speakers, some expert voices on the panels, as well as the parallel sessions that are going to ensure that we are not in the business of a performative conversation over the next 3 days, but we're doing the hard work of rolling up our sleeves, stepping into the space with courage, and having real conversations. We also know that the 5th African Philanthropy Conference does not take place in a vacuum. It builds on the momentum and the work that has preceded it, the work that has come from regional, continental, and global dialogues like the APN, but it also feeds into conversations that are on the horizon, like the African Philanthropy Forum, which is taking place in Marrakesh later on this year. And so we engage in this space through a broad arc, mindful of the fact that we're feeding and drawing in the insights of others, even as we seek to influence what comes next. And so to paraphrase Briggs, my job is also very simple at this point, and that is to ensure that we are all armed with all the information we need to have the best experience possible. Now, I know the most important thing is this, the Wi-Fi. So, if you have not connected to the Wi-Fi, it's the Wi-Fi that says APC_conference #liquid. That's the Wi-Fi that we're on, and the password is very simple. In capital letters, APC@2024. APC@2024. I'd also like to challenge us to keep our phones on. And the reason why I want us to keep our phones on is that we've got a job to do today, and that is to amplify the conversation beyond these four walls and to let the world know what we are talking about. We've got people who are live streaming, and so we want to welcome that audience who are live streaming from different parts of the world, but we also have people who will follow this on social media. We're going to be, everything that we're posting, we're going to put the hashtag 5APC for 5th APC, and we're also going to use hashtag FPhilConf 2024. And you're probably thinking, Nozi, what is that? I can't even spell that. It's going to be really simple. This little name tag that you're wearing, at the bottom of this name tag is a QR code. If you put your phone to this QR code, it takes you to our conference platform. At the top, you will see the hashtag I've just referenced if you want to follow that hashtag as well. But more importantly, the full program over the next 3 days is also found on that platform. In addition to that, the full bios of all the speakers is also through this QR code. And so you will notice that myself and the other moderators who I will be sharing the stage with will keep the bios very sharp, very short, very concise, because the full bios are going to be available here. There's another piece of information that is on there. We have a code of conduct that is also accessible through this QR code. This is important so that we share the space in a way that is safe for all of us and that allows each and every person to have the best experience possible. My ask of you is that you please read the code of conduct and familiarize yourself with it. The facilities, the ladies and the gents, are outside the main hall as well as downstairs. On your seat, you should have had headsets. We are translating into English and French. One of my weaknesses as a moderator is that I tend to speak very fast. So I'm going to be very deliberate about slowing down so that our translators can also keep up. And my ask is of everybody who's going to be on the stage over the next 3 days to do exactly the same. We don't want to leave anyone behind. And so, my last ask before we go into our opening is that you help me keep the time of this program. It's a job I cannot do alone. It's a job that I can only do with your assistance. Let us keep the discipline of time, keep our tea breaks to the allocated time, make sure that we are seated at the allocated places at the right time. There will be ushers who are going to be assisting us in this regard, but it is my personal request of you to say, let's make this a world-class experience. We don't only start on time, we finish on time as well. All right, and so, with all of that said and done, to open up and to really lead us into our opening ceremony, I'm going to invite a few individuals who are going to take a seat up here at the top, and they, of course, I will then be inviting them to the podium at different times. Allow me to first invite Madame Theo Sowa as one of our co-hosts, advisory board member of CAPSI. Let's give her a round of applause. Thank you, Madame. Dr. Ebrima Sall, Executive Director of TrustAfrica. Let's give him a round of applause. Professor Maurice Radebe of the Wits Business School. Let's please give him in his capacity as Director and Head of the school a round of applause. Ladies and gentlemen, representing Mr. William Carew, who is, of course, the Executive Secretary of the ECOSOCC Secretariat at the African Union. That is Mr. William Carew, and representing him this morning is Mr. Lebogang Kenneth Mabuto. Let's give Mr. Mabuto a round of applause. And we round off the speakers of the opening with Her Excellency Ambassador Rudo Chitiga, who is the Permanent Secretary to the Zimbabwean Ministry of Skills, Audit and Development. Can we please give Her Excellency a round of applause? I'm going to invite Firstly, just to extend a welcoming word from the co-hosts. We've our two co-hosts represented on stage today. I'm going to invite Madame Sowa to please come and join us first at the podium to extend her welcoming words, and she will be followed very shortly after that by Dr. Ebrima Sall. Let's give her a round of applause.
Good morning, everybody. So one of the things I'm learning is never to get into a quiet conversation with Becky, because when you do, you end up doing things you didn't expect to have been doing, and this is one of them. But I'm really, really happy to actually be part of welcoming all of you to this convening. It's such a pleasure to see so many familiar faces here, and even more of a pleasure is to see the unfamiliar faces that are here. This APC conference is a real example of how, when we work together, we can move. I stand here as one of the old guard, one of the people who, years and years ago, with TrustAfrica, Southern Africa Trust, the Kenya Community Development Foundation, AWDF, the Africa Women's Development Fund, who I was with at the time, the people who were dreaming around how we can make the world understand that philanthropy is not something that is done to Africa, but something that is deep in our souls, in our spirits, in our traditions, in our culture, that African giving and our notions of support and solidarity and collectivism was at the heart of African philanthropy. And therefore, it was a question of, do we reclaim the word philanthropy from what it had developed into, which, to be entirely frank with you, was a very elitist global north definition of philanthropy, which not only marginalized what African philanthropy was, but actually marginalized what philanthropy is in vast swathes and with huge populations in the global north. And in dreaming that and coming up with the idea of working together as African philanthropy agencies and individuals to come up first with the African Grantmakers Network, then with the African Philanthropy Forum, I'm pointing at Stigmata and Mosundan there, and then with the APC, which brings together so much, and to be able to have developed CAPSI, which at this point is doing exactly what we had dreamed of. It is looking and studying and documenting African philanthropy and what that means. And in doing that, gives us the opportunity to change the way the world is beginning to bring down the very idea of philanthropy. It gives us the opportunity as Africans to actually lead the way in understanding the power of giving, and not the misappropriation of power of giving. If we look at the world we're in at the moment, we're in increasingly polarized times, and we know that philanthropy has the power to either bring us more together or use its power ineffectively and wrongly to pull us apart. So you have this opportunity in these few days to actually begin to build on what we have already been doing. I really want to thank all of the organizers, especially the people behind the scenes that we don't see. But I really hope you're going to debate, find new ways, the young people who are here, the academic conference, that we can build on all of those things to make this a convening that pushes us forward and not a convening that makes us simply look inward. Welcome, and I look forward to seeing all of you more.
Thank you very much, Madame Sowa. Before I call on Dr. Ebrima Sall, I also want to just extend another special welcome on the back of what Madame Sowa has just shared, and that is to the presence of Her Excellency Gracia Machel, who's with us this morning. Mama, thank you for being a constant reminder to all of us about what this continent can be and the work that we're all tasked to do. We are appreciative of your presence here with us and the energy with which you came into the room. Dr. Ebrima Sall, over to you, please, sir.
Good morning, everyone. Jambo, salam alaikum. Bonjour à tous. Your Excellency, Mama Gracia, thank you for coming. Thank you for honoring us with your visit, your presence here, and thank you for being such an inspiration. We are really, really proud to have you here with us today. And also want to say thank you to Ambassador Rudo Chitiga for representing the government of Zimbabwe here today. We appreciate your time, taking your time to be here with us also. Thank you so much. Colleagues, friends, distinguished professors and guests, luminaries of the African philanthropy community and of the academic community, there are so many of you here. It makes us really feel very proud. I see my brother Tade, who was my mentor and my boss at the same time, and a friend and a brother at Codesria many years ago, and still together. It's now several decades. So many other people in the room. Professor Radebe, thank you for coming, and thank you for being such a support to what we are doing through the WITS Business School. We also have Mamadou in the room. Theo, thank you for the excellent introduction to this whole conference. You've done the introduction already, framed the whole issue, the conference, the main theme of the conference. We've got Mamadou, we've got Jerry, we've got Godwin sitting here, Executive Secretary of Codesria, who gave us an excellent keynote speech yesterday at the academic conference. Sierra, Jedre, Brian, Kole, Masego, all of them, Nicolette, Emmanuel, I can't name everyone, but we have seen everyone and we appreciate your presence here. I also want to say, I recognize the presence of my board member, Marwa, who is in the room. I have to do that if I want to stay in peace. And of course, Tendai is also here, and all the friends in the room. And all the friends who come from very far. You know, you've traveled long distances for some of you. All the way from Brazil, for Benjamin, all the way from Europe, from different parts of the continent, West Africa. And that's really something we appreciate very much. It's my singular honor and pleasure to welcome you to this conference, my sisters and brothers in the organizing collective, Stigmata, Evans, Becky, Mosun, and Alice, who wasn't able to join us here, asked me to stand here in front of you and speak on our behalf, all of us. So from now on, I'll be saying we, I won't be saying I, because I don't have the right to do that. So all protocols observed. This is the fifth Pan-African African Philanthropy Conference that we are organizing. And we see it as a Pan-African platform, as a platform where we all come together. You know, each of our organizations have our own activities, our own events. Everybody in this room have their own activities and their own events. But we think it's important to be coming together once in a while as a community to reflect together on what the issues that we are confronted with and what we should be prioritizing and where we are going as a community. And therefore, we do 5 things in this conference. 5 things very quickly. First of all, we reflect on the current situation of the world, what we see happening, where is the world going, what are the key challenges, right? What are the key issues, what are people grappling with, ordinary human beings, businesses, and so on. We reflect on the state of our continent and the state of our community, the philanthropy community itself. What is philanthropy doing? Where is philanthropy going? What is happening to it? So it's very good that, I think, Theo, again, you prepared, laid the ground for this reflection. So we do all that. We share our concerns about what is going on. We also share the excitement about some of the good things that are happening. we observe emerging trends. You know, we discuss a lot of things that are happening on the continent, in the world around us, in our own communities, and so on. So it's a moment of sharing. The second thing we do is, of course, is to showcase the best of what we are doing, the best of the things we think are happening in our communities. We look at what best practices are, what are the great initiatives that are going on, what are the great projects being initiated, and what that are ongoing or that have been planned for. Yesterday and the day before in the academic conference, we had highlights of some of the things that people are doing. We'll hear more of that here. An initiative like the African Giving that TrustAfrica and Giving Tuesday are doing, Harambe Ubuntu, reimagining philanthropies, Mastercard supporting a lot of projects on youth that CAPSI and TrustAfrica and others are engaging, and many other projects. So we showcase what is happening. We showcase good practices. We also do that through the things we present, book presentations. There's an exhibition that is part of this whole conference. Practices, things that people want to share with others as well. The third thing we do, of course, is to celebrate. We celebrate those who have pioneered this work. We celebrate those who have contributed immensely to the, construction of this community. Mama Gracia, again, we have an award ceremony that is part of this conference. The first awardee is you, and we were so pleased. It was immediate, unanimous, that award had to be given to you. There was no conversation, no discussion about it. When the name was pronounced, it was unanimous. So thank you again for being here. We were looking forward to having a moment to say this in front of everybody, and so we have it today. We've had Akwesi Eido, who was honored as the second awardee, and the third one last year in Senegal is Jerry Salole, who will be joining us, who is already here. And in this conference, we'll hear another awardee in the event tomorrow, in the award ceremony. We will be doing that. And that is part of the way also we appreciate what has been the contributions of a lot of people. Of course, there are so many other people who deserve to be recognized, and but we cannot do it all one. The fourth thing we do, of course, is to plan, is to discuss what we ought to be prioritizing and what we are taking forward over the years to come. And the fifth thing we do is to reaffirm our love for humanity, our love for our continent and for our communities, which is what defines philanthropy, actually. We are reaffirm our commitment to our community and our commitment to the work we do, and to contributing to the transformation of this continent and to the transformation of the world. So it is therefore very, very important that we are here today. And I want to just say that we don't take it for granted that people take their time to come here. We know it takes an effort. A lot of you express interest, use your own resources to come here, and we want to thank you for that. We want to thank all those who submitted proposals to present papers in the academic sessions or to present panels in the main session. We received an extraordinarily large number of proposals, abstracts, and of panel proposals this year. A lot of them. We couldn't accommodate everyone, but we tried hard to accommodate as many as we could. And that is extremely important because it shows that there is an interest in the conference. And we had more people in the academic conference this year, maybe twice more than we had in the other event last year. We would like to thank, also special thanks to, as I said, to our guests of honor. We have mentioned them, Mama Gracia, Rudo, the ambassador, and to all the great people who are in the room who are here with us. Our keynote speakers, we every time make it a point of getting people who can help us think and focus on the particular issues and push us in the way we envisage the issues. We want people actually who provoke us, not those who just come to do the celebration bit. And at this conference, we have Godwin, who gave a keynote yesterday. Professor Tade Aina will be giving our keynote speak to today. There is Abeba Berhane, who will be speaking as well, Naira Faruqi, Makama Lekarakala, and Brian Kagoro. All will be keynote speakers. And all those who are here will be the keynote speeches are followed by panels, high-level panels, where people also engage them, challenge. And the panels are made up of people who are academics, practitioners, and policymakers, and so on. Now, let me just make one thing clear. We talk about the academic conference or the academic sessions and the practitioner session. There is no hierarchy between the two, right? There is no hierarchy. It's a way of organizing it. The academic sessions are made to enable us to deepen the engagement with the work that emerging scholars are doing, right? to provide that space, because there are issues related to methodology, to data collection, analysis techniques, and so on, which one cannot do easily in a larger gathering. And that's what the academic conference is meant for. And it's also meant to solidify the intellectual foundations of this initiative, of the community. Academic exercises that are not connected to practice, that do not inform practice, are not of great value, right? Practices also that are not informed by serious research, and policies that are not informed by serious research are also not of great value. So we need the two, and that's why we're trying to hold both events together. We are particularly pleased that we have a lot of young scholars who are joining us every time, and this year we also have a large number of them. Many of them are students of CAPC, but also others are coming from different places. And it took a lot of work, hard work, sleepless nights for a lot of people to put all this thing together and to bring us to where we are today. So I want to just express appreciation on behalf of the committee for a few people. There are a lot of people to thank. But the program committee was chaired by Briggs, who is here. We saw him at the beginning. It took a lot of work, and he took the leadership of the committee, and they did an extraordinary job. And in each of these committees, all the partner organizations are represented, right? So there's one person who was leading it, and Briggs was leading the programs committee. We want to thank the facilitator, Nozipho. She was part of the organizing. She really, literally, guided us through the whole process. So we want to thank you as well. And the other committees, as a communications committee, Letu and Abdurrahman are sitting behind there. The logistics committee with John Lynn and the team with her, including the operations directors and finance directors of different organizations, Aita, Isa, and all of them, Tandi, Sipizo. There is also, an awards committee that Evans chaired very, very, very ably. He served as a secretary. The chair of the awards committee is Sarah Mukasa, who is in the room. And on the committee, we have Sarah, we have Theo, we have Marwa, Akwasi Edu, Emmanuel, Mamadou Bitei, and a few other people. So the awards committee is the one that is working around the award, and I think it's important to mention that. So the tech teams, of course, did an extraordinary amount of work. We've got the artists, we want to thank them as well, and all those who are here exhibiting. I think it is just also appropriate to express apologies for all the complications that have been. It hasn't been easy to find one's way here. Issues related to logistics, the process one goes through to get a visa, and I take the opportunity to thank the Zambian government and the Zimbabwean government for facilitating visas to these countries, because we are going on a side visit also to Zambia and to see this place. And I want to end to say that we are hoping that you will enjoy the conference, you will learn a lot from the conference, and we know that you are bringing a lot to the conference in terms of the content and in terms of also just the conviviality that is around here. We hope you will enjoy Victoria Falls. We hope you will enjoy the field visits. The first time we did field visits was when we were in Senegal last year. And I want to also just once again thank the organizing committee and thank the people in the secretariat. I know Becky will do that, much fuller extent. People like, Stifiso, Rugeto, and the others as well. So thank you all for your attention. And once again, thanks for being with us here today, and all the best.
A clear outline of the jobs to be done. Why are we here? What are we expected to do? But also, in true African style, starting with thanks and gratitude for everyone who has made this moment possible. And so those were our welcoming words from our co-hosts. I move now to our special guest who's going to be extending opening remarks. And I'd love to invite to the podium Professor Maurice Radebe, the director and head of Wits Business School. Let's give Professor a big round of applause, please.
I think our program director is doing a wonderful job. Why don't we give her a round of applause? Thank you very much. Thank you. It's such a privilege to be here. I really feel honored to be here. It's amazing. I came here yesterday. As I was landing at the airport, I met Nishant all the way from Indawezi. And there he is. And he just enthused me. I'm speaking as a bit of an older person, because he's young. I looked at his eyes. He was talking about how we need to re-engineer and re-pivot the whole philanthropy, and I was very excited about that. So I'm really feeling honored to be here. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the 5th. I said good morning. Good morning. Yeah, please, come on, let's wake up a little bit. Yeah. I can go on and on and on, but let's save time. I've asked Becky, who's our director of CAPSI, located at the Wits Business School, to ensure that I don't miss anybody when I acknowledge people that are here. So let me do the first. I really want to acknowledge Mama Wetu, Mama Grasha Mashel. Siyabonga Mama, usimshayele. Yes, we thank you for coming. You always inspire us, you always encourage us, and we are very, very excited to be here with you. Ambassador Rudo, I also acknowledge you. The mayor of Vic Falls, Prince Moyo. I don't know whether, Peggy, you wanted to mention the 2 Moyos here, but that's fine. You've got the privilege to have that. And the chair of the conference, Peggy Moyo, CAPSI director, the conference co-host, Ebrima Sall, director of the TrustAfrica, the program director, BRICS, Jonah Bomba, and Dr. Jerry Salule, and all the keynote speakers that are here. I'd like to acknowledge you and really know that we're going to get so much from you, and the co-conveners of the conference, heads of international and local organizations, including Philanthropic Foundation and distinguished delegates. I want to give you a round of applause for all traveling all over the world to be here, particularly in the continent. I'm really extremely honored to represent Wits Business School here on the 5th Africa Philanthropy Conference in this very beautiful, iconic Africa setting. You know, I came here many years ago on the Zambian site, and I looked at these falls just going down. It was just amazing. And I remember when I was studying history at school, which was a colonialized history, which said, who discovered Vic Falls? Do you remember it? Who discovered it? Say it loud. Livingstone. As if we were not here to see it. He comes all the way and he discovers it. Can you believe that? The arrogance of colonialism. Yeah. So it's amazing how we need to go. So this is 7 years ago. We as Wits Business School, we must thank you. I must clap hands for you, because you gave us an opportunity to locate CAPSI at Wits Business School. So I'm really humbled to see the work that has been happening from our location, from our campus. As a leader of the business school, it's really humbling me to see that in 2017, you decided that we set up the chair of philanthropy at WBS. If I were to take you down the memory lane, this started in 2009, TrustAfrica, under the leadership of Akwasi Aidu and Peggy, along with 25 other African philanthropic institutions, established the African Grantmakers Network, now known as the African Philanthropy Network in Accra. Among many programs of the African Grantmakers Network was the setup of the chair of the African philanthropy. You know, I like this. I'll just tell a little bit about my background. I started in the NGO sector in my youth, and whenever I speak to young people, I say, you know, before you start your career, just go and work in an NGO sector. So I worked in an NGO sector And I worked on both sides of the fence. First, I worked as an NGO leader, and I know the pains and the struggles of while you're busy trying to develop program and money runs out, and then you've got to leave everything, go fundraising and go begging and go, asking for money, and then go through all these donor bureaucracies that you go through. And then in my whole life also, I changed. I got a role to be on the other side. I became a grant maker. And I realized, and I became a grant maker that was empathetic, because I knew the pain of going to raise funds. And many times the proposals that were tabled, most of my colleagues who were not on the other side of the fence would want us to reject the proposal, but because it was not written in a way that fit the criteria of the donor. And I had to put together an infrastructure that helps the NGOs to really rewrite the proposal in order to fit the criteria of the donor. So I have an absolute understanding. And then I went in through my whole business life and corporate ladder of an energy company until I became one of the CEO of the big major oil company, energy company at that time. But throughout my career, if I look at it, that 5 years of being in an NGO, I just made sure that for me, corporate social, no longer responsibility now, investment, which is what I like, is at the center of the strategic businesses that I ever ran because of that 5 years. Because normally CEOs in big companies, corporate social responsibility is like a PR exercise, You just make a big check and come here and then make sure that we got photos that takes, and then gone. So it's so important what you're doing, particularly amongst young people, ensure that they get grounded in philanthropy before they take off their career, whatever sector where they go. We at WBS are really, as I said, excited that the chair is established there, but we've got a number of chairs and centers at Wits Business School. And I see a lot of my colleagues that are here, and I'd also like to thank them for all the good work that they've done in working, even organizing this conference. But we've got a number of chairs which I want to share with you. The one is a digital chair. And these chairs are located on the SDG goals because we want to respond to them. The digital business. Let me talk a little bit about that, because whenever I talk about 4IR, we forget that actually there was the first industrial revolution. And whenever I talk about it, I remind us, particularly us as African, that during that time of the first industrial revolution, we were slaves. And that was during the agricultural, when it moved from agriculture into subsistence agriculture into mechanized agriculture. And then the second industrial revolution, and even the third, most of us were colonialized during that time. That is when we're moving into combustion engine, and then we're moving into all these things that we read about, the Henry Fords of this world. We were colonialized. But 4IR, and I tell particularly young people, we have no excuse whatsoever not to take it and run with it and actually leapfrog the world, because now we are free. Now there's nobody who's colonized us. Obviously, there's a number of ways that they are doing, but we have to take this one and run with it. I attended a conference last week of business school leaders throughout this continent, and that's the message that we were saying. We have to make 4IR to impact Africa and global South, and making sure that we leapfrog and we tackle all the challenges that we face. So my challenge to this conference is, how do we do that? And I hope as we debate, we must discuss, and how do we make sure that we leapfrog? And we have done it in one way or another. I was looking at the statistics. All of us are having cell phones. Cell phones were actually leapfrog the whole of the world, because we didn't have legacy technology before. Are you with me? So how else can we really make sure? That's why at business school, we've got this center called Digital Business. And the second one is energy leadership. And again, there's a massive revolution that is going on if you're asking me what is my SDG goal, because every time I ask people how many SDGs, and some people don't know, I won't embarrass you, and which one do you spend your whole life focusing on? Mine is energy. I spend all my professional career in energy. So that is why when I was, even before I joined the business school, I helped set up the School of African Energy Leadership Center. It's energy. The question is, and I hope this conference will have to deal with this question, with this massive transformation of the energy industry and the landscape from high carbon economy to low carbon economy, and this whole transformation, what is our role as Africans? Because I sit in these forums of the global north, and I see the regulations coming out, and I see all sorts of initiatives, I see technology happening, and all of this transition, while it is absolutely necessary because of climate change, but is the pacing, is the pathway of the global north and the global south the same? That's a question I want this conference to deal with. If this conference can deal and say, no, our pathways and our pacing is different, because we have to address certain fundamental issues in this continent, and therefore it's very important. Let me just go back to this 4R thing. AI is now here. I was sitting in another conference and somebody was telling me that the reason why AI is hallucinating when you ask anything about Africa is because we do not feed the AI. Am I right? We do not have the information. In fact, 3% of the information that is in the AI is from Africa. So that's our challenge. We have to make sure that we feed the information. You know, on computer, garbage in, garbage out. So here's a Ghana challenge again. For me, I'm here to challenge the conference that let's look at how we can make sure that our story, our African story, is in AI. So that my grandson and my granddaughter and yours, when they press and ask a question, it does not hallucinate them and tell them about something in America or in Europe. Are you with me? I'm sure we can do that. I can already give you this whole conference a round of applause because you've got to solve that problem. The next one, a center and a chair that we have at WPS is healthcare. Healthcare leadership. We've actually established, and it's been approved by our educational authorities in South Africa, the MBA in healthcare leadership, not healthcare, but leadership. Because, I mean, we at WITS as an institution, the bigger university, we have the massive healthcare department, and which has even been involved in COVID in terms of vaccination research and discovering one of the variant there, and which later on we got punished for it because we discovered it in South Africa. But by the world, because then they started stopping all the borders and the planes not come there. But the point is, I want to talk about leadership in the healthcare. The reason why, for instance, our hospital, particularly in our public hospital, there is such a poor management of the healthcare is because we don't have leaders. Now, I always like to tell the story. MC, just make sure you watch my time. Whenever we've got a very good clinician who's a neurosurgeon, for instance, he can operate your lungs, your heart, and even your brain, because he's so good at the hospital. What do? We promote him and we make him a CEO of the hospital. And then we lose both because he has no clue of how to run the hospital. So we lose both skills. So I said to him, we need to develop leaders. And COVID has shown us, not only us, the whole world, that we cannot manage healthcare systems. So at business school, we've got an MBA that is already there. Now, I'm concluding now. So what am I saying in this gathering? The last thing I want to say is that let's talk about entrepreneurship. Now, I want to talk in three ways, and then I'm concluding. This gathering today must look at entrepreneurship. It means of starting businesses, but it must also look at entrepreneurship with an INTRA. How can you, when you're running a big corporation or an NGO, make sure that it grows? And finally, social entrepreneurship. We need to make sure that these three are taught, we engage, because social entrepreneurship can solve all their problems. And then I thank all the foundations that are here, and I really like to appreciate you for all what you've done. And I really say to you, we as WPS are thankful to be part of this massive collaboration, and we will give our best. I can speak as a leader of the business school that will put the resources, the time, the energy, and we release Begi and we support Begi, and together with his team to really make sure that philanthropy, we own it as Africans. Thank you very much.
Very much, Prof. Radebe. Lots of challenges in that speech. One of those, of course, being the question of whether the pathways to prosperity in the global north and the global south are the same. And if they're not, what does that mean for the conversations we're going to be having here? And of course, the final call to action about keeping our eye on the conversation of entrepreneurship, intrapreneurship, and most importantly, social entrepreneurship in this context. Ladies and gentlemen, a final round of applause, please, for Professor Radebe. I suspect that the hallucination conversation will come up quite a bit over the next 3 days. So how do we move from hallucination to reality? Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me a great pleasure now to yield the podium to Mr. Lebogang Kenneth Mabuto, who's the chairperson of credentials in the ECOSOCC Secretariat, of course, representing Mr. William Carew this morning. Let's give him a round of applause, please.
Thank you, Director of Ceremonies. And ladies and gentlemen, kindly allow me to ride on established protocol, but even in doing so, permit me to extend my recognition and appreciation to Her Excellency Mama Gracia Machel. Thank you for gracing us with your presence. To members of this panel this morning, Professor Radebe, thank you so much for the challenge and the welcoming remarks and the charge that was embedded in there. It is indeed an honor and a privilege to be standing before you this morning. So to you all, ladies and gentlemen, here in your varied capacities, I say good morning. I am here to deliver these remarks on behalf of the African Union Economic, Social and Cultural Council, the AU-ECOSOCC. And I wish to thank the conveners of this conference for extending an invitation to the AU-ECOSOCC. We are indeed honored to be part of these proceedings. The establishment of the ECOSOCC in July 2004 as an advisory organ of the AU as per Articles 22 and 5 of the AU Constitutive Act marked a significant step in the pursuit of the AU Agenda 2063. Whose overarching vision is that of an Africa driven by its own citizens. And so again, I extend my thanks to Professor for reminding us again this morning that we need to define our own agenda and chart our own path. Anchored on the strength and depth and dynamism of the African civil society, the AU-ECOSOCC has a distinctive character, which is that of being a vehicle for strong partnerships between governments and the African civil society. ECOSOCC exists to give the African civil society an opportunity to play an active role in charting the future of the continent. ECOSOCC works to empower the African civil society to be able to organize itself in partnership with African governments and to contribute to the principles, policies, and programs of the African Union. So with the understanding that this fifth edition of the conference marks a critical point in the exploration of the evolving philanthropic landscape on this continent, and that it represents a collective response to the dynamic and significant challenges reshaping African philanthropy, focusing on in-depth examinations of emergent trends innovative strategies, and the potential impacts on traditional philanthropic models, ECOSOCC sees this conference as a pivotal contributor to our continent's desired trajectory of being a global powerhouse of the future, one that is characterized by self-determination, freedom, progress, and collective prosperity pursued under Pan-Africanism and African Renaissance as enshrined in the AU's Agenda 2063. As a space for collective reflections, the settings of agendas and sharing of best practices, where the traditions or the traditional meets the innovative and old models are reevaluated in the light of new strategies and approaches, the ethos of the APC resonates and aligns well with ECOSOCC's drive for self-centered development and the increased unity of Africa in our lifetime. In keeping with Article 2.5 of the AU-ECOSOCC statutes, calling for forging of strong partnerships, ECOSOCC stands ready to partner and collaborate with the conference in advancing principles, policies, and programs that seek to take our continent forward. We seek to partner with the conference to leverage the expertise, capacities, and efforts of the African citizenry in crafting African solutions to Africa's challenges, and in the process, place the welfare and quality of life of all African citizens at the core of each undertaking. Today, as we seek to better understand the dynamic and significant changes that are reshaping African philanthropy, as we deeply examine the emerging trends, the innovative strategies and their potential impacts on traditional philanthropic models, ECOSOCC stands in solidarity with the African Philanthropy Conference, both as a solutions-oriented platform and a crucial vehicle to take Africa forward. And with these few remarks, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you and I wish you fruitful deliberations.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mabuto. Laser focus, sharp and concise. Thank you for those remarks. And of course, those remarks were words of solidarity and words of support for the work that's being done here over the next 3 days. To close off this opening ceremony, I'd love to invite to the podium Ambassador Rudo Chitiga. As it previously indicated, she's the Permanent Secretary of the Zimbabwean Ministry at the Zimbabwean Ministry of Skills, Audit and Development. Can we give her a very big round of applause?
Thank you very much to our facilitator and conversation strategist. I want to recognize Her Excellency Mama Graça Machel, and to thank you for always unwavering support to philanthropy and for the DNA of giving that is in you. I want to thank and recognize the organizers of this conference and all the key members of the Africa Philanthropy Conference. On behalf of the people and the government of Zimbabwe, I want to welcome you all to Zimbabwe. I want to welcome you all to Victoria Falls, to our national heritage, but also a World Heritage Site. And I hope you will take time to really see the falls, not to see the falls from the river side, but to see the falls from the falls side. Those who know what I mean. We welcome the opportunity to host so many of you in this Victoria Falls town, which I understand His Worship the Mayor is around or represented. I recognize you. And also thank you for choosing Zimbabwe and Victoria Falls as the venue for this gathering. Victoria Falls, for us, is a gift that keeps giving. So it is in a place of giving that we talk about African philanthropy. I want to congratulate you. In my other life, I remember very well the beginnings of these discussions on African philanthropy, led by Mama Grassa, talking about we need our own foundations. We need to create our own foundations, which are African foundations in our different countries. And I think you led in this initiative and did and continue to do very well. The birth of SAGA, you remember, Becky, when you had SAGA, the Southern Africa Grant whatever, Makers Association and all that. And all this is the thread that has gone to where we are today or where you are today. So I really would like to congratulate you and to really acknowledge the work that has been done in growing philanthropy in Africa and growing the presence and the numbers of initiatives of African philanthropy that are there. I think the highlight for me when I began to retrace my steps was to really realize that now you even have moved philanthropy not just to practice, but also to academia, where we do work and understand what philanthropy is, what it should be doing. And for me, I hope that CAPSI also is addressing the issues of really what is the difference between African philanthropy and the other philanthropies that we grew up with. Is it just black faces now retailing development aid from other countries, and you set up shop in Nairobi and you call yourself an African philanthropist? Yeah. How much of the resources in the foundations in Africa are coming from Africa? And how many of you do I meet at airports in Europe, in America, running around looking for money to put? And therefore, the international aid has become the wholesalers, and you are the retailers of development aid. And as you become retailers of development aid, are the conditions any different? Is this an illusion to us to say, oh, it's one of us, this is one of us, I can now expect better? For those of you who do evaluations, have you set up indicators of the before and after? So that we begin to see that, oh, these projects were supported by these European foundations, but now the African foundations are supporting these types of projects, and these are the differences that have been made. Those are things that I am hoping CAPSI is doing. When we look at philanthropy in Africa, and I think some of you call it black tax and whatever, Africans are the biggest philanthropists. Zimbabwe receives more in remittances than in development aid. What do you call these people? What do you cluster this giving? Do you include it as part of philanthropy, or you call it private funds or whatever? How do you encompass all that giving that is taking place through, if you go to Western Union, World Remit, and whatever? They are all witnesses of African philanthropy to their different countries. Theo talked about the history and the DNA of Africans as givers and community builders. How is philanthropy and Ubuntu connected? What are we taking? Is African philanthropy borrowing from Impundu? What values is it bringing to the table? And how does it broaden participation? And in broadening participation, we are also looking at organizations that include the Harambee organizations. I hope you are here. The community builders who are not money people. Is philanthropy just money? If you're talking of African philanthropy, where is the Harambee people? Where are they? Where are the community leaders? These are the others that we need to see. And I think we need to also grow. It's good to have studying philanthropy at university level. But if we don't learn it at primary school level and grow up learning philanthropy, we are shocked when we discover, when we are doing our degree, that there's something called philanthropy. So let's train our children. Let's include volunteerism. Volunteerism is something we can give because sometimes we don't have money. But let's teach it in schools. Let's not just continue to have the Rotaries, the Girl Guides. What are the African institutions of philanthropy that are training our children to be leaders of tomorrow? And this, for me, is really what we would encourage and hope that through the studying and the reviews and the questioning that takes place, this happens, and really to realize that African philanthropy, in its true sense, will become the real partner in resource mobilization for nations, for the continent, as well as to achieve the things that Prof was talking about. We need to have that Africanness in it. I really hope that this meeting, as you said, will continue to guide your way forward, your pathways forward. And I am pleased to see quite a number of the intergenerational mix that is in this room. And so there are new ideas and there are new inputs that are coming in, which we will all benefit from, because in addition to being a government official, I am also a villager. And in my village, I would like to continue to learn and to benefit from philanthropy. I wish you the best. I look forward to hearing the results of this meeting, but also to seeing the greater impact of philanthropy on our continent, which is our own, and borrowing from others, but which is really our own as Africans. It is with these words that I would like now to declare the 5th African Philanthropy Conference officially opened.
Ambassador, as one of the people that I hope is contributing to the generational mix, there's a phrase that we use as young people called shots fired. And if you understand, you understand. But I think the tone of what you've given us and gifted us, Ambassador, is the courage I was referring to at the beginning. The courage to not step away from the difficult questions and the difficult conversation. The courage to call spades spades in order for us to make progress and to ask ourselves the difficult questions. I think my worst nightmare would be bumping into you now at JFK on a mission. And so as we become taking on identities that are not befitting to what we aspire to as Africans, that your words might ring in our consciousness and challenge us and confront us so that we do the right things. Ladies and gentlemen, if I could ask you to kindly please give all the speakers on the stage a big round of applause. You're welcome to take your seats. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.